Alright, I am making this video, and I should have made a video a long time ago about what's going on in my life and what's been happening lately, the last few weeks and the last month, I guess. I was afraid of, every time I had a biopsy, I kind of joke with myself about, getting the big C word. That they'd tell me that I had cancer. And so anyway, I don't have to joke about it anymore because I can't remember. Let's see. I'd have to look at the calendar, but anyway, right now I am at the VA hospital in Fargo, and so anyway, I'm being treated for, the big C word because they called me, 4 weeks ago, I think. 4 weeks ago on a Monday, and said that a biopsy I'd had at Roger Maris Cancer Center had come back positive that I had lymphoma cancer. So I don't have to joke about, I don't have to think about, about being scared anymore about having the big C word because I've got it. And so anyway, I'm going to make this video about the first week. The first week I found out, that I've got cancer. Anyway, so that was a Monday. In October, and anyway, that was Monday, and then Tuesday, the next day, I met with the cancer doctor here at the VA. Here at the VA. And so anyway, met with him. My dad, met with, my dad was there, and my next younger brother was on the phone as well, so on speakerphone, so he could hear what was going on and what the doctor was saying and what we were all saying and stuff. So anyway, I met with the doctor, and the doctor said that, he said that they had to be really aggressive with my lymphoma, because the lymphoma was being very aggressive too. And the lymphoma was being extremely aggressive, and so they could not mess around. They could not mess around with what was going on, with what was happening. And so anyway, and then not only Tuesday when I went with my doctor, I had a bone marrow biopsy And that is extremely painful. That is, I mean, there's nothing they can do to, numb your bone to, you know, to be able for a biopsy, to take some of your bone marrow and then also to scrape some of your bone, off, scrape some of your bone off so they can look at that under a microscope and to see if my lymphoma has spread or not to my bone or not, to my bones. So anyway, they did that, and then I was admitted to the VA hospital that day, Tuesday, the day after I found out I had cancer. I was admitted. So, yeah, so then the next day I had my first chemo. I had my first chemo of my life ever. Third day of, 2 days after finding out I had cancer. Had my first chemo, and my chemo was from between 8 and 8:30 was when I finally got down to the injection room, where you get like lymphoma, where you get, your chemo and probably dialysis and other things like that, in the room that I got down there between 8 and 8:30, and I didn't leave until 5 that night. But it wasn't all chemotherapy that I was getting. We actually had to wait for quite a while for me to get my medication from the home pharmacy, for that to come and to take my medication then. That was one of the things we had to wait for. And then we also had we also I also had a lot of the medication to kind of reverse the effects of my chemotherapy. I had that too. I'll just show my wrist that I'm a patient here. Proof that I'm a patient. Not just kidding, that not in some nice room, but I actually am a patient here. And also, so anyway, I got something else I can show you on my arm to prove that. But anyway, yeah, so I got a lot of the medication to revert, to kind of counteract my chemotherapy then. And so that's why it took so long for me to, why I was down there so long. But anyway, so that was Wednesday. Thursday I had my second chemotherapy, and that was only an hour, so that wasn't too bad. That's okay. And then Friday Friday, the last day of the week. Friday, the last week, I had my first PET scan. I had another CAT scan. Oh, well, I had the PET scan at the Roger Mears Cancer Center. That was early in the morning, about 8, I think. So anyway, then I get back and I have a CAT scan right away when I get back. So I don't even have anything to eat yet, no breakfast, nothing, zero nada. And yeah, and then when I got done with the CAT scan here, I had the PET scan at Roger Mears Cancer Center. Get back finally, then I have my CAT scan here. Then I get up to my room. Then I finally eat breakfast. Like 10 in the morning. Finally have breakfast. Waited about an hour and a half, I think, and went down for my third chemotherapy. And the kidney doctor met with me and said that I might go over to Essentia, and that they'd found a bleed off of my kidney, and they were like, okay, we gotta get this. I think, he was like, I think we need to get this taken care of, and so anyway, that's why I went. That was a primary reason why I would go over to Essentia. Go from ambulance to Essentia, from the VA hospital to Essentia. And so anyway, finished talking, he left. And then I had dinner at the same time I'm having chemotherapy, having lunch, having a noon meal. At the same time I'm having chemotherapy, I'm eating. Yeah, usually you'd think, you'd get pretty sick if you were, trying to have chemotherapy, but I mean, it was fine. I didn't have any problem with that at all. Didn't have any problem whatsoever. Was able to eat and have chemotherapy at the same time, and felt fine. Didn't get nausea. Didn't have any nausea. Didn't get sick. None of that. The only time I felt a little nausea was the first time I had chemotherapy, and that's before I had, when I had been taking the medication to kind of counteract the bad effects of chemotherapy, like nausea and stuff like that. So anyway, I had that was the only time I felt a little bit nauseous, but other than that, I've never felt nauseous when I've had chemotherapy or after that, because of the chemotherapy. So anyway, Friday, continuing with, Friday the week I found out I had lymphoma. Let's see, Friday, I think. What else happened? Oh yeah, okay, now I remember where I was going to go. I went back up to my room. On Friday, after the chemotherapy and after I had dinner, just kind of didn't do too much, kind of just hung out, well, kind of not hung out, but didn't do much. Pretty much stayed in my room and, let me watch some TV or something, but yeah, so anyway, then later on, the doctor came in and, said that maybe I'll be going over to Essentia. Well, most likely I'll be going over to Essentia sometime. And so I'm like, well, okay, that's fine, that's cool. And then all of a sudden, later on, 2 ambulance attendants showed up outside my room and said, yep, you're going to Essentia, let's go. You know, packed up, threw all my stuff in some bags, and, you know, let's go, you know. Hopped on a gurney and off we went. And off to Essentia we went. And so anyway, that was kind of, that was like Friday night. And so anyway, that was like Friday night. And so I settled into, you know, my room at Essentia, you know, kind of like 9:30 at night, you know, kind of settling in and kind of get everything put where I wanted it. And, well, anyway, so watch the football game on ESPN, you know, so that was kind of fun to do that. But so I was up kind of probably later than I probably should have been. But anyway, so that's Friday night. And then Saturday, a doctor from Essentia came in and said, you know, that he said that the bleed on my right kidney, you know, where my lymphoma was at, was not that, you know, that was not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it, it's okay. You know, probably stop bleeding by itself. Don't worry. So anyway, he said, don't worry about it, you know. So anyway, he said that later he and his boss were going to come in and talk to me about that, about my kidney, my bleed off of my right kidney, where my lymphoma was. And they both, you know, both of them, you know, they came back later, and both of them said, yeah, it's no big deal at all. Your bleed is, you know, it's a small bleed, no big deal. But anyway, he said, well, there's a bigger problem. And you've got a bigger problem than that. And that is, you know, we've looked at the CAT scan and stuff, and, you know, we noticed there, you know, your lymphoma is choking the living daylights out of your poor little right kidney. And so anyway, it's like, we gotta get this taken care of right away. We gotta do something about this. You know, I mean, they weren't the ones who did that. There was somebody else who did that. So anyway, they, you know, they got in touch with that person, and that, you know, and oh yeah, and you know, and the lymphoma was choking, you know, was closing off the tube between my kidney and my bladder. So my urine was backing up into my right kidney and making my right kidney was getting bigger, and, you know, was getting bigger because of that. And you know, the possibility of my lymphoma killing my right kidney was a good possibility. And so they had to do something right now. They could not waste any time. They could not dilly-dally around. They could not, you know, they had to do something right now. And so they got in touch with the person who works with that, and they had me go down to the room in which I can't remember the name of, you know, kind of the minor surgery stuff. And so anyway, they, you know, put in a tube from my right kidney to my, that comes out my back and leads to this bag. And so anyway, you know, my urine from my right kidney comes comes in to this bag and gets so filled up, and I have to empty it every so often. So when it gets a lot more full, when it gets filled up, I have to do that. So anyway, they did that, and I'll have this bag until my lymphoma can shrink my lymphoma, and be able to, for my right and left kidney to go, the kidney functions to go back to normal. And so then after that, then they'll take this out. But until then, I'm stuck with it. So anyway, So anyway, that was Saturday. And Sunday I didn't do much. Just watched football on TV. On Monday, they actually got transferred back from Essentia back to the VA hospital. And so then that was, Monday. And then Tuesday, didn't do much. Wednesday, I had my fourth chemotherapy. And so then they were going to just keep an eye on me, and said that I couldn't, that it probably was a bad idea for me to be alone and for no one to keep an eye on me. So Friday morning when I was discharged, I went home with my dad and stayed with my parents for, I think it was over a week. I think it was over a week that I was with them. And, some days were good, some days weren't so good. And so anyway, let's see, anyway, that's kind of up to the point. That's, getting me up to the point where I went home with my parents, went home with my dad, and I was with my parents for a while. So anyway, I'm gonna close this now and make another video sometime about, continuing from the time I was, with my parents up to today, which has been, what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks since then, I think. Or, yeah, something like that. But anyway, I'm gonna close this now.